All right, we're back. We got some nettles. Look at all these nettles. Hoo-hoo, yeah, stingers. I love them. So we're gonna make the soup first. I guess that's what we're gonna make. And we got some simple ingredients laid out here. I'm gonna run through the ingredients, but the recipes will be available as well. I got simple things: carrot, celery, onion, garlic, cannabis butter, regular butter, light chicken stock. I got some water back here in the sink. That's river or pond water or tap water, whatever you want to use. Spring water if you really want to. I got some heavy cream from a local creamery. Spinach, nettles, a little flour to thicken it, sea salt, and pepper. Basically, that's it for this soup. It's that simple. So I'm gonna get it started. I got a pan going here. I'm on about medium-high heat. And so we don't destroy too many of our cannabinoids, I'm gonna start off with the regular butter. And I'm just gonna add a nice little chunk of that regular butter because we've actually got to sweat the carrot, celery, and onion, better known as a mirepoix, to everybody that's gone to a French culinary school. I threw the garlic in there as well. So we got carrot, celery, and onion in there. We got the butter melting. Got the spoon to stir. The pot's on, like I said, about medium high. And the entirety of this soup takes probably about 25-30 minutes. You can eat it pureed. You don't have to puree it. Me, I definitely recommend the blender. Pureed nice and smooth. One of my favorite Spanish sayings is liso y sedoso. So when we puree this soup, we want it to be silky and smooth. Velvety, silky, and smooth. Liso y sedoso. Just so you all know, most people are scared of eating a green like nettles, but you really shouldn't be. It's nutrient dense. It's full of vitamins, full of minerals, and an uncommon green, but yet it grows everywhere on this planet, in every crack of every corner on this planet. So it's free, for one. So for me, I like to use it, mix it with spinach, go out and get the nettles. The immune boosting properties of these nettles are completely absurd. It's an adaptogen, just like cannabis is. Both of them have multiple uses in healing abilities. So I'm gonna make sure I don't scorch my butter. I'm gonna add my mirepoix, carrot, celery, onion, and garlic. And we're just gonna start sweating that. Next step will be, I'm actually going to add some cannabis butter here in the next round. Me personally, I like to layer my flavors. I like to layer my salt and pepper. I like to layer the level of nettles and spinach that we put in. We're going to do it in 2 stages. We're going to layer the stages of cannabis butter so that we have 2 layers of cannabis butter in there as well. It's just like seasoning your dish. You don't season it once with salt and pepper. You season it in the beginning, season it in the middle, and season it in the end. And that's what cooking with cannabis is all about. Paying attention. You can't burn or waste or do anything to your infusion or whatever you've made to waste what you've just done. Especially using these quality ingredients, these free quality ingredients. These aren't elitist ingredients. These ingredients are available to everybody. Got a nice sweat going on these vegetables. Yeah, those are looking good. So while those vegetables sweat away, I'm actually going to go back over here and get some of these spinach and nettles ready. The nettles, you just want to give a rough chop. Give a rough chop to these. Just helps the wilting process. Don't be late, because if you're late, you're just late. And what I mean by being late, I mean you're late for harvesting the nettles. Get them while you can. So I got those nettles chopped up a little bit, just nice and rough. Got some spinach chopped up. Remember, I'm going to do 2 layers of these, so it's not the first. This is just the first one that's going to go in the pot here in a little bit. Just getting these prepped and ready. The next thing that's actually going to go into the pot is some of the CannaButter in the pot. I love cooking with cannabis. So many years I did it in the shadows illegally, and now it's just like mainstream. It's great. Some of us have been cooking with cannabis for quite some time. I've been cooking with cannabis since around the early 90s, 1992, 93. So it's not something new to me. I don't think we're ready to add the CannaButter yet. I think I'm going to give it a little bit, let these vegetables sweat out a little bit more. Yeah, got good sweat going on those vegetables. Yeah, so the longer you cook with cannabis and the more you use it as like the agricultural crop or the ingredient, just everyday ingredient, like your pantry should be full of cannabis ingredients. Cannabis infused vanilla, olive oil, vegetable oil, vinegars of all kinds, green tea vinegar, madrone vinegar, chamomile vinegar, anything that you can infuse cannabinoids in, and it doesn't always have to have fat in it. Everybody's adding soy lecithin and sunflower lecithin and stuff. You don't need it. Now do a natural infusion. Get out as much as you can with the infusion you can. If you're making a vinegar, you got acid involved. If you're making an oil or tincture, of course, you've got fat involved. Butters, you got fat involved. Coconut oil, you got fat involved. So just pay attention to really what you're doing and have fun with it. Unfortunately, the expense of it hinders us a lot to experiment. But if you're a grower, of course, you can do that at any time. All right, so this is going up nice. I'm going to add a little CannaButter. Vegetables are sweating, turning translucent. That's about a tablespoon of CannaButter. That's going to get us nice. That's going to get us really nice because I'm going to add a little bit more before we finish up the soup. Next thing that is going to be added is the flour, just normal AP flour. If you're gluten intolerant or something, use rice flour or something like that. Or you can eliminate the flours altogether and just use the rendering or thickening of reduction of the cream to help thicken your soup. Or put more meat in it. And by meat, I mean onions, carrots, and celery and garlic. And the puree of that down with more meat will actually help you have a thicker soup if that's the soup you like. Me, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of flour, 2 tablespoons of flour, because we got about 2 tablespoons of butter in this. It's 2 tablespoons of flour. Now remember, layer in flavors. Need some salt and pepper. I'm adding a good few grinds, about 8-10 grinds of pepper. I'm also going to add good heaping pinch of salt. The chicken stock that we're using is a light chicken stock, so it doesn't have a ton of flavor. Watch your roux. Make sure your roux doesn't burn. And make sure you got enough flour in there. I'm going to add a tiny pinch more flour, about 2.5 tablespoons to equal the amount of butter that I had in there. Butters, I should say. Oh yeah, we're going to let this cook up for a second till it turns a little bit nutty. And by nutty, I don't mean like the Nutty Professor. I mean nutty like smelling and aroma. I'm going to add another little scoop of CannaButter. About another tablespoon. Right there in the pot. Ha, pot in the pot. I love it. I love it. Waited years for this to be legal, guys. Making sure our flour doesn't burn. Our roux now doesn't burn. And we're going to get our chicken stock ready. And remember, this recipe's got water in it too. You can use tap water, pond water, river water, glacier water, spring water, whatever water. So the roux is cooked up to a nice nutty aroma. Nutty pot. I'm adding that straight away. That's the light chicken stock. And I'm going to give it a good stir because I want to break up all that flour and roux and create this kind of like murky slurry out of this. And then I'm going to go grab some water. I'm going to add about 1/2 quart of water. Remember, this is on about medium high. Add my water. And you can always add a little water later. You can't take away. And remember, if you're thinning your soup out by adding water, you want to make up for that in your salt and pepper action. Sure, you give it nice few grinds and a nice pinch. And as soon as this kind of amalgamates or comes together, we're going to add our first round of greens. And that first round of greens was the nettles that we chopped up and that little round of spinach that we chopped up. And we're going to add those here in a second. Soup's coming along quick. Comes along really fast. You know what I mean? It's not a long, drawn-out soup. And you don't have to eat it pureed. I particularly love it pureed. And I'm going to talk about the garnishes for the soup here in a minute. We got some really cool garnishes. I particularly love the garnishes for this soup. Almost ready to put these greens in there. Sorry about the lag and delay, you guys. Oh yeah, this is going to be nice. Get a nice thickness on it from the roux. We're still about on medium-high heat. I'm going to bring the pot to the cutting board. It's my preferred method of travel, so I don't get a bunch of these greens everywhere. And I'm going to add the first round of greens, the chopped nettles, chopped spinach, right on in there. And another reason why we do the layering of flavors with this is because we want some vibrance in the soup. We want the soup to be nice and bright at the end as well. When we give a person a bowl of it, you know what I mean? We don't want it to be drab green. This is going to be really nice. I'm going to layer salt and pepper again. It does seem like a lot of salt. That is sea salt. And pepper. We got it cranked up to about medium high. I'm going to add a little bit more water, a little bit more pond water for me. Definitely need some more pond water. And then I'm going to get the second round of nettles and spinach ready to go. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. Soup is cool. A lot of people used to think quiche and soup wasn't cool. I'm cool. We're cool. Soup is cool. Nettle soup is cool. And cannabis nettle soup is really, really, really right up there on me for that level of adaptogens. Again, getting the nutrients, having fun with our food, eating some ingredients that we don't normally eat, i.e. the nettles. That's adventurous eating, and that's also not bored eating. Me, as a chef, I used to say that there was no seasons in a grocery store, and I wasn't lying, because there really is no seasons in a grocery store. You can go in there and find tomatoes any time of year. You can go in there and find watermelon basically any time of year. You know, and that's kind of deceiving to the public, and I don't want to do that. I want you to enjoy food at its fullest potential. At its freshest, ripest potential. That means the nutrients are ripe. You know, a carrot today is only about 75% nutrients as a carrot that was grown in the 60s. That's kind of crazy to think about. That means we're growing a lot more carrots for a lot more people today. That means people need to get out and forage nettles. You need to get at this Urtica dioica. That's what I'm saying, greens on green. Go out, smoke a little cannabis, forage a basket of nettles, come home and make some soup or raviolis and toast. I'm going to check on the pot here. Oh, we're looking really good. We're looking really good. So things are wilting along nicely. We've seasoned our soup twice. We've added our first round of greens, spinach and nettles. We got another round to add here in a second. While we're waiting for the soup to come up, I'm going to explain the garnishes. We have two garnishes for this soup. One of the garnishes is kind of special to me. It's one of these ingredients I like to call really special. Like this vial right here is cannabis pollen, full of plant-based proteins. And I think it's an underused item. I really do. I think more people should be using it in their cuisine. If you're a chef, you should be using these things. So the other thing I got is some regular old sour cream. I'm going to tell you that this, even on the label of this one, it says cultured sour cream. That's what you want to get, folks. You don't want to get the one that doesn't say cultured. And you may think that your sour cream is cultured because it just says sour cream on it, but it's not. And that's kind of deceiving in this day and age. You want the products that were made like our grandparents used to eat. So this is highly special, this Cannabis Pollen. It comes from me from a friend of mine. He runs a legal grow op. His name is Full Duplex. It's Mandalorian Genetics. And this is one of the simple garnishes. I'm going to put about $600 worth of pollen. Did I say that? $600 worth of pollen? Yeah, this shit is expensive. So I got a nice little mix, and yeah, I did. I'm gonna put some more in there just so you can see the yellow color floating on top of the sour cream, so you know we weren't fooling you. You know what I mean? So there's not much, but it's in there. I'm gonna mix it up, and I'm gonna set this to the side. This is one of the garnishes for the soup. Really simple. Cannabis pollen sour cream. You know, how simple can it be? Another garnish for the soup, I gotta put this in the vault, you know what I mean? Thank you, shout out to Mandalorian Genetics. Not that anybody knows who he is, but you know. Soup might need a little pinch of salt and pepper. Again, it's coming up to temp nicely. Give it another round of pepper. Don't be scared to flavor in layers, Layer those flavors. So the second garnish is black pepper and cinnamon croutons. Wicked simple. Cinnamon, cannabis butter, your favorite bread, sourdough, Texas toast, any of those breads, white bread, whatever you want. Sourdough, I prefer sourdough for some beneficial bacteria. Cut into little cubes. Pepper. So the reason why we're doing these garnishes with the soup is simple. We're cooking with cannabis, and cannabis contains terpenes like beta-caryophyllene, or beta-C as I like to call it. And that beta-C is also found in everywhere else in the world. So black pepper, very high in beta-C, beta-caryophyllene, cinnamon as well. So I just want to add some of the terpenes that are kind of common to the strain or cultivar of cannabis that we use, and kind of bring them out in the soup for the garnish. We got the Cannabis Pollen for the garnish, and we also have the black pepper and cinnamon croutons. So I just take a little bit of the ghee or CannaButter, melt it, put it in there, heavy cinnamon, lots of black pepper. And then I just lay these on a sheet pan in the oven, let them cook till your desired doneness, brownness, however you'd like. Me, I like these little poppers that are like half done, half a little bit of oil on them, but got a little CannaButter on them. Oh, damn. Crispy. Those are perfect for the soup. Those are going to be awesome. So simple. That's two garnishes. Nice and peppery with the black pepper and cinnamon, and cannabis pollen yogurt. Nice and mellowing. The mellowing effect of the cannabis sour cream. I said yogurt. Sorry about that. Sour cream. I make yogurt, and you can use yogurt too. Is that when the nettles start stinging you as they're going down? I'm just kidding, you guys. Just to let you know, these things, once they're cooked over 140 degrees, they cannot sting you. If they're cooled under 40 degrees, frozen 32 degrees or so, tiny burrs are knocked off, so they're no longer like a bunch of hypodermic needles. So don't worry about it when it's going down your throat. It's pureed, it's cooked, long time cooked, so no stinging involved. Another garnish that I'm going to use is some of these little rosemary flowers. And I know we didn't put any rosemary in the soup, but we were talking about terpenes. We are cooking with cannabis. So the terpene that is found in rosemary is going to be pinene, alpha-pinene and pinene. And I really like to add a little bit of a pinene recognizer to the soup. You know, once you're eating it and you're like, oh, wow, you just start recognizing all these things. It's kind of what eating and enjoying food is about for me. All right, we're getting good temp here. We're getting really good temp. So I'm actually going to take this bowl. I'm not going to bring the pot to me this time. I'm going to bring the greens to the pot. We got to keep track of that. Greens to the pot, pot to the greens. Cook them with cannabis. And I'm going to add my second round or last round of nettle and spinach right in the pot. And we're not going to let this cook long. Everything else has been cooked. The carrot, celery, onion, and garlic has been cooked in... The mirepoix has been cooked already. Everything's been stewing. So now we're at a point where we're pretty close to being able to puree this. So we've added our last round. We're going to add a little bit more salt and pepper. We're going to add cream top. You got to get the good cream. A little bit of cream. Oh, this is almost ready to puree. Oh yeah. So I got a ladle. I got the blender out. Old school blender. Old fashioned. Like a boat motor. And I got the blender's container. You want to really be careful when you're pureeing this soup. It is hot. It's still in the pot. So it's going to aerate and it's going to expand drastically. So you want to be careful how much you get in the blender. Get as much liquid as you have liquid as you do meat. The meat, by meat I mean vegetables, greens, all that. Now we give it a little pinch of salt. Go right into the blender. Now I like to be safe, insurance policy. I like to take my kitchen towel and kind of lay it over the top of the blender. I start the blender on slow and then work my way up to a clean, smooth puree. Sorry about all the noise. We're only going to blend one batch. We have some soup ready to go. So after you puree your soup, pull it back into the container that it came in. That way you'll have a nice, consistent product. And by the grace of TV, we have some soup that's already done. Beautiful color on that. I'm gonna get a bowl and we're gonna finish this one out. I really appreciate you guys joining me. So, cannabis infused wild nettle soup or wild nettle puree. Don't have to puree it. Completely simple, cannabis infused. You don't have to be fancy with this, folks. A little bit of cannabis sour cream or yogurt, whichever you choose. I definitely choose the sour cream, and a few of these awesome black pepper and cinnamon croutons. Rosemary flowers. And realistically, the only thing other than that you need for this soup is a spoon and 6 really hungry stoners. That is as simple as it gets. Wild stinging nettle soup with cannabis pollen yogurt or sour cream, black pepper and cinnamon croutons, and rosemary flowers. We brought everything together. The terpenes, the cannabis, the adaptogens, the nutrients, the lifestyle that we like to surround ourselves in cannabis by going outside and foraging these greens and enjoying it later on. Thanks for joining me. The next up we will be doing, well, that's a surprise too.